All right, folks. Welcome back to Peach Pit, and this week we're going to review the Columbus event, which had a lot of good strategies and gameplay, and we're going to talk about the upcoming Forsyth event. But before we get started, we have to make the usual disclaimer. Any views or opinions shared on the show are solely that of the individual contributor and do not reflect the views of Peach Pit, any FRC team, First, Georgia First, or any of their affiliates and sponsors.
All right. So with that disclaimer out of the way, let's begin by introducing what our show is. The idea behind the show is to serve as an FRC talk show that focuses primarily on the Peachtree District. We're going to be talking about a variety of topics, so don't be surprised if you see us drop some hot takes or throw some shade. Well, minor shade. Ultimately, we're hoping to provide some entertaining and engaging discussion for our community. So with that done, I'll introduce myself first. My name is Anupam Goli. I'm a mentor for Team 1746 Auto.
Also, recent game announcer.
Oh, yeah, and your game announcer at Columbus. One of the game announcers.
I'm Kyle Fender, mentor with 1002, Georgia First, alumni coordinator, and alumni, or was it? Did I say alumni coordinator?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and master ceremonies. There you go.
Kyle, this is in Game of Thrones. just keep listening.
Kyle Fender, Master
This isn't Alliance Selections where you get to read off all your sponsors.
All right, Trevor.
So my name's Trevor Davidson. I'm an MC in Chesapeake, and I am a former 1648 mentor.
My name is Sunny Gupta, and I'm still retired.
I'm Kellen Hill. I'm a mentor for 1746 Auto.
So, Sonny, when are you going to get out of retirement?
I would like to know, is this like a Michael Jordan type of retirement
Put
or
me
like a
in,
realist
coach.
retirement?
This is Michael Jordan before he comes back to the Bulls, not Michael Jordan before he comes back to the Wizards.
Oh, good point. Good point.
Or has he started playing baseball yet?
Are you going to go down to FTC or something?
Whoa! Okay. Okay.
We're gonna get the hate comments now. Now you stepped in it. Okay.
Now we get FTC
Go Red Sox.
So, we're gonna go ahead and just call out the teams who did well at Columbus. The winners were team 1414. Are you gonna game announce for us? Okay, 1414.
IHOT from the Atlanta International Schools.
2974. No more. Okay. 2974 Walton. 1795.
Team Clutch.
Team Clutch. The finalists were 4910 East Cobb Robotics, 3635 Flying Legion, 5332 Toaster Tech. The Chairman's Award winner was 4188, and the Engineering Inspiration Award winner was 4026.
Global Dynamics.
Global Dynamics, and 4188 is Columbus-based programs. Now, before we get into any of those teams and topics and gameplays, we're actually going to talk about something that happened in California, just really quickly. So California, we have team 1323 and 1678, both very good robots. They played together in a qualification match, and they actually managed to do 2 full rockets. So I think we have the gameplay that we can take a look at.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up here in just a sec. All right, there we go. Let's take a look at this match.
So I think what's crazy here is you're going to actually see 1323 is actually struggling. No, that's okay. 1323 is actually going to be struggling to get that hatch up until about right there, right? So they actually don't start on their rocket until about right now. 1678 is already done with all their hatches, and they're going to start working on the cargo. And we just get to watch it unfold.
Yeah. This is at 1.5 times speed, but it's still insane how quick both of these teams were.
And you can see how much it really matters on the software working well with the hardware and how they're effortlessly able to just put the hatch mounts on and go back, and it's a quick transition for these cycle times. Like, what was the approximate time for each of their cycles?
Well, 1323 started at about 80 seconds with 2 hatch panels up, so they did 10 in about 70 seconds. Which is...
It gives you some idea there. And I actually think 1323 is the best team going right now.
I think that's pretty well established, yeah.
And so that was just in one of their qualification matches, right? When they went into eliminations, this team, this alliance regularly started doing triple level climbs.
Yeah.
Like, I think they started in quarters, did them in semis, and I think they just got tired of dunking. And
Here, I can pull up
Finals?
quarterfinal 5 real quick.
yeah,
on
so
here.
pull up that video. And when I first saw the triple level climb being teased, I really didn't think it would make that big of a difference because I thought like, oh, like everybody will do it. But I don't see how any alliance, even at Worlds, just overcomes this.
Just look
I
at
think
this.
that, so at Worlds, I think you're going to run into the situation where if 1678 or a 1323 seeds #1, they're picking somebody at that same caliber. So if you have those two robots and a good third bot, or above average third bot from what we're used to seeing, you're going to see points at which you're going to cap out the scoring opportunities on your side. So by doing a triple climb like that, you're significantly elevating your point ceiling as an alliance.
I don't think that's necessarily true that they're going to cap out, but
You're certainly they're going to get close.
Right, they'll get close, and I think it's worth mentioning that there's only one other mechanism that's been shown by 5026. They actually played against each other at Citrus Circus's previous regional. But that being said, you're also going to get to a point where you don't necessarily even need to do that much. So,
well, that's where I think you saw it, like the San Francisco regional for the 971-254 combo, that they learned that they could fit two robots up there, but once 254 tipped off, they're like, not worth the risk in this situation because we don't need it to win these matches.
All right, well, we thought we'd just provide that look over West because that's a pretty special gameplay. I don't think 2 rockets have ever been done so far, and that's a pretty special end game. I think, what was the team you say, 5026?
5026, yep.
I think 5026 might have done a 3 robot climb at one point.
They were the first to attempt it, but one of the robots on their attempt was just hanging a little bit low. So they didn't get the first official one, but they were the first team to try it.
Yeah, but 1678 and 1323, I mean, they were doing it consistently. They were hitting the high score, and I actually think they set the world high score this past weekend.
Yeah.
So it's pretty exciting to look at. So now that that's done, we're back in the Peachtree District. And our first topic is actually a little bit of chairman spiciness. This past weekend, Walton and Columbus were both coming into the event without a chairman's award. And this was also both of their final events, or final qualifiers. So they both needed a chairman's award in order to qualify to compete for one at district championships. I think the really big news is that 4188 won the award. They kind of, in my opinion, they upset Walton. So what do you guys think about that, right?
I don't think that they upset Walton as much as they were able to really take advantage of home field. Like, they're in Columbus, they're in their own town, and I think it's a matter of were they able to market the fact that they have successfully changed their community for the better. And I think it was 4188's game, or 4188's title to lose, rather than 2974's to lose.
See, 2974 has been winning a chairman since forever.
Since 2013.
Yeah, so I don't really think you can say that it wasn't theirs to lose, because I don't know.
At the same time, 4188's been in the Culture Awards game for years as well, either EIs or chairman, so it's a couple heavy hitters.
One of the things we like to say in hockey is that a lot of these games there's a lot of randomness in these games, right? It's almost like a weighted coin flip sometimes. Neither team, in my opinion, was really theirs to lose, but 4188 stepped up and got it, I think is more to the point.
And also, if you think about it, even going back to last year, they won that chairman's award back in Columbus. So I think it further establishes it was just a continuation of, you know what, how did they step it up from this level? Like, yes, we're, like, obviously, we're looking at it from the Peachtree District, but you have to think I wouldn't even say regional bias as much as, no, it's regional bias. If you think about it in all of these different areas, you know, when it's a Peachtree regional, when it was a regional format, we had a lot more of, you know, more centralized. So you had a lot more of a overall viewpoint. But now when you have these district events, like a lot more of these teams get a lot more shine. And so Columbus was able to take advantage of it.
I think this is starting to be signal a beginning of a trend. So like Walton's Chairman's Awards, they've for a long time they kind of focused on that international region, like that broad range of their outreach. But when Columbus Space Program's video showed up, right, they focused on a lot of the local stuff, the community building, and the same thing with G3, right? They focused more on the Atlanta experience and the Atlanta teams and their local communities. And I think this is going to start being like a trend going forward. It's going to be less about like your broad range outreach and more about how have you impacted your community in a measurable way.
Yeah. And I also think broader range outreach can sometimes be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more flaky to actually prove. Because when you're trying to say that like your mascot or like your thing impacted hundreds of thousands of people across the world, I sort of draw back and I'm like, I'm not so sure about that versus like a local, smaller impact that's like perhaps a bit more concrete.
Yeah, and if you think about it in terms of, I think first is trying to go a lot more towards sustainability. And I work with a international like aid organization where we go out, we build libraries. It's hard to be sustainable with that type of thing without like a lot of support. So, I mean, for what Walton has been able to do with their international programs, it's been amazing. But it's hard to have a sustainable international program if it's not like feet on the ground. Now, with their local programs, they do amazing. So it's still surprising me that they didn't come out with a Chairman's Award in any of the districts. But I won't be surprised if next year we'll see them pop back up with the DCA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kyle, what's that organization you work with? And just give a quick plug. Just because this seems like a pretty good thing to talk.
So I work with an organization called the Matthew E. Russell Foundation. It's a foundation to honor the memory of my brother-in-law, who unfortunately died in 2011. He wanted to teach people to read. So what we do is we go into a certain region in South Africa. We go and we find an area that doesn't know anything with technology, has very low literacy rates, and we bring in the supplies with books, e-readers. I'm working now with them with robotics kits, a full media center to basically help the school to basically raise their reading level. So I've gone to go a couple times, and so now I'm leading the charge with the technical part of the projects to kind of bring technical literacy to those different schools.
Well, that's
Really
pretty
neat
cool.
stuff.
So Walton may not have won the Chairman's Award, but they did win their second straight event this past weekend, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe that's the only team so far to have won 2 qualifiers this year.
In the district, yes.
Yeah, it is.
Although 68-29 will have the opportunity this weekend.
Yes. So, I mean, I think, in my opinion, I think it's pretty clear, although I think there's going to be a bit of a debate about this. I think they're the best robot in the district, and I think there is not a very close second place contender.
Here.
But, Kyle, I think you have some choice words on this topic.
Choice words. Okay. I'm gonna start off with knowing I'm gonna die on this hill. I've said it from week 1. I'm gonna say it now. I don't think that 2974 is the best robot in the district. I do believe that they have the best combination of robot and drive team in the district. But I do not believe that they are the best robot in the district. The comparison I would basically say is it's like having an elite point guard in basketball. A point guard has to be able to basically create their game or to create a flow. So they have to be able to make their own shot. They have to be able to officiate or facilitate movement of the ball on the court itself, right? Which I think Walton successfully does, and you've seen it in both of their qualifiers. They're amazing at it. But the thing is that if you're not a well-balanced point guard, then you could score 50 or 60, but your team's going to lose by 30. In the case of Walton, I'm going to harp on this because we talked about it with
I got a spare shovel over here. Do you need help digging your hole?
I'm going to dig. I'm dying on this hill.
Hey Kyle, who was the point guard on that team that won the 2016 NBA championship?
I don't want to talk about it.
Kellen, bring out that shovel, please.
No. But it seems like the main crux that you're trying to say is that Walton may have potentially a lower ceiling than like
Honestly.
other teams in the district, but they've been the fastest to reach like
they
ceiling, I guess.
listen. I will say they have been amazing with utilizing that robot to the fullest potential, and even we had some comments about it from Eric Kaufman from 2974. They iterated on the mechanisms so much faster, and there was even a stat of how fast and efficient they are with that rocket. So I will give them credit for that. But when it comes to the whole concept of what we're talking about, like I'm talking about, by the time we get to the Peachtree District State Championship, I think that with the deeper field, they're going to have that harder time to establish themselves as that number one. Two,
I'm just waiting over here. I'm coming for
Two, I don't think that they're going to win. I don't think they're going to win at state championship. I don't think that they're going to win.
I've been in the PCH.
Hold on. Kyle, you have one word, one four-letter, unless it's 832, 4-digit number. Who's the best team in the state then? You get one. What? Just the number.
Get one.
Just the number.
Just the number. I'm going to die on this hill. 49-10.
All right.
Die on this hill.
I've been playing in this district since 2013, and I can hardly count another robot in this district or in Georgia since 2013 that I've been more scared of than this Walton robot.
They're not
Well,
scary.
I guess
they're not
you
scary.
didn't have to play against yourself in 2017.
Exactly.
But other than that,
This robot is scary.
Yes.
This drive team is scary. They don't need a level 3 climb to win matches.
Listen, okay? Listen, I told you. I told you in the beginning, it's not about playing the game, it's about playing the district. Walton plays the district well, but they're not the best robot
what you want
in
to
playing
do,
the game,
they went
okay?
to what we considered the hardest district event this year and pretty much wiped the floor. And then they played at Dalton, which was probably the third toughest district event, wiped the floor there. They're the only team in the state so far to solo a rocket, and they've done it 8 times. Yeah. I don't know what more they can prove to be the unless 1746 or 6829 or 1771 come out and blow the doors up, have to pretty much double their performance from the previous weekend.
Can I use my four numbers? 1, 7, 4, 6. I'm done.
1746. Okay, so
I'm done.
here's the deal with one of the points that you said, that they have a lower ceiling, but they are there. The thing is, I kind of thought that at first as well, but I've been watching teams develop, and no one's even getting close to the ceiling, or no one's even getting close to the level that Walton's at. So they're doing something different, that they are at a higher level. The optimist in me thinks that sure, 1414, 4910, 1102, and 1746 will be able to flip it on and get to full rockets. But even at their first event, right, which is kind of awkward to talk about them since they're right here. But even at 1746's first event, the best they could ever move was 7 hatches, right? Now, granted, they had a lot of difficulties, but 7 hatches at the lower level, I don't think that really extrapolates to 12 pieces at full rocket level, right? So
this reminds me of a very similar robot, in my opinion, was last year 4910. 2018 4910. They had that simple pinch intake, right? They had a really quick elevator and they had that climb. They reached their ceiling pretty much at whatever their second event was, right? Columbus. That was kind of when they reached their ceiling. They remind me a lot of Walton this year because they drove the pants off of it. They were pretty simple, and yeah, they just had a really good combination of drive team and robot. But G3 had a better robot, and then once they got to their ceiling, 4910 couldn't keep up.
So if we're talking about ceilings, though, the Walton currently has a ceiling that's comparable to a lot of the best robots in the world.
Right, we're not talking about
that's
locally.
True.
They're just
it's
and I mean ultimately look, comparing it to last year was 4910. So Dalton and Columbus were the same. 4910 went to those events last year. Those were not the same caliber events they were this year. So already in that perspective, they're not at the same level. Additionally, that year they never were compared one-on-one until district champs. with what we would consider the best robots in the world, and they played or best robots in the district. And 6705, when they went to Dalton, played with them, so they never had to play against them. And even when they were at Columbus, the 2 seed went out early, so you lost 41-88 and you lost 14-14. We never really knew what 4910 was capable of. By the time they got to states at that point, they were already behind because the difference that 1102 had and 1648 had that year was too much for them to make up. This year with Walton, it's not like they haven't played the best competition possible, which is, I think, been a little bit of a knock on them before. They haven't done that this year. They've gone straight at it. And like Kellen said, we're talking about probably what is a top 25 team in the world right now that isn't getting the coverage because it's Peachtree.
Yeah, Peachtree.
Yeah.
Ultimately. So
there was somebody, Caleb Sykes, I think, on Chief Delphi posted some statistical analysis, and Walton's Columbus performance ranked them, I think, 10th in the world.
It was like 10th or 13th.
10th or 13th in the world. I'll check it real quick in terms of efficiency or probability of getting that rocket RP.
And I think the only other team in the district that in the time the district system has been around, which I think is the modern Peachtree. 1746's 2017 robot is the only robot I think compares in terms of dominance, because once they got picked by 4941 at state champs, it was pretty much like the only way you were going to beat them was to pull off a defensive miracle. So
and that third bot, 5074, they were no joke.
And
either.
that was a steal too. So it was pretty much a done deal set. And I think at the time we were pretty confident, even in a tough Carver division, that they were going to be first round pick. But there was always a little bit of skepticism because they hadn't gotten the cargo shooter to be fully up there. Walton's going to be a first round pick in their division. Like, I don't think it's even a question. They're going to be, and they might be, depending on if they end up in a weak division, we could talk about a top 2 pick here. Like, this is a team that's been at division finals twice in the lower picks. They'll have a chance to get there again this year as a first pick. And I know, Kyle, I know this may be hard to believe.
No. Listen. Look at the stats from years past. Listen, I'll eat crow if they make it as a first pick in that.
So are you saying division finals as a first pick?
No, wait, division finals. Wait,
are we saying just to make you were picked first in their division?
Yeah, picking first in their division.
Okay, all right, put it on the board. You and me.
All right.
We don't have a board. But
wherever the board is.
So,
imaginary board.
Before we move on to the next topic, I just
go ahead.
wanted to say, according to Caleb Sykes' data, Walton's Columbus performance was 7th in the world in terms of the probability of getting that rocket RP.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Right.
Just
Well,
think about that.
Real good.
On that note, and while Kyle digs himself out, we're gonna move on to talk about.
It's going to take a while.
Nope, it's gonna take a while.
Staying in the hole.
We're going to talk about 1414 IHOT. They were the Alliance captains this past weekend, and they did end up winning the event with Walton and what was the other team?
1795.
1795.
Team Clutch.
So I mean, I've known them. I have known their program since back in like 2007, 2008. Like they used to have. The only thing that I really remember them for was like having bicycle wheels on their drivetrain.
I remember
every
that, yeah.
year, like even like years where it's like there's like not a ton of train. They're like, yeah, I think we'll put some bicycle wheels on this. And so watching them come as far as they have, it was good to see them win.
It was very cool.
It was. I thought that
First
was
time since 2006, which is awesome.
Unless
there are fewer and fewer teams like that, and I think it's because there's just so many more events, and I think it's really cool when we do one of them really rise up.
It must have been very cathartic for them.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell from experience when the program has traction. So like, IHOT's had competitive traction for I think 2 years now,
Yeah.
but they just haven't gotten that win. And when you're doing good work and you don't get the banner, sometimes it can feel a little suffocating. That you're like, oh, what can we be doing better and differently? So I think this like probably lets a little bit of pressure out of their cooker, right? Just to let them breathe and then go out and perform at district champs. Right?
Yeah.
Before we move on one further, this is also, speaking of teams that haven't won awards long, this was not only the first event that 1795 has won in their history, it's also the first event they ever picked up a judged award in their history, picking up the Creativity Award. So hats off to 1795 for making the leap this year.
Yeah, solid performance.
Hats off. So now we move on to another spicy topic: defense at Columbus, right? Or like defense in general. What?
So I was gonna say, like, to kind of picture how defense formed at Columbus, you got to start from the beginning, right? Walton came out in their first qualification match, soloed a rocket, had 30 seconds left in a match, right? As soon as that happened, like, everyone started to like be like, all right, we need to learn how to play defense, and we need to start playing defense. So you saw all those robots that usually just kind of don't know what they're doing, just immediately book it to the other side of the field, start playing defense and figuring out that game. And then from there, after lunch on the first day, we started seeing the hard, like, defensive plays. And later in the evening, I thought what was really cool was we started to see counter defense, like pick and roll plays. I actually have a match over here of 1102 having their alliance partners set up a pick and roll for them. But it just blew my mind how quickly the game evolved. So if you look over here, 1102 is getting kind of bombarded by a defense from 7499, who probably was the best defender there. But in a few seconds, what you're going to see is you're already seeing 1795 trying to figure out how to play some counter D. But what you're going to see right here is that 1102 is kind of pinned down. 1795 is going to come in. They're going to set up a pick, and that's going to allow 11 to roll onto the other side of the cargo ship out of that defensive play. And that gives that Red Alliance robot, those Red Alliance robots, some like room to breathe.
Yeah. And I actually think counter defense is going to be what's most important for these offensive juggernauts, because a lot of times I see Alliance to just swap defensive bots and it's just chaos all over. But if you're the first seed, if you're 14-14 and 29-74, you know you're going to outshoot anybody, right? So I think your third robot, who is Toaster Tech, who is a very heavy, sort of not really going to get pushed around, I think they have a little bit more value keeping the defensive bot on the other side of the field, right, and just let you guys score. So I hope that offensive teams really take that into consideration a little more, rather than just, hey, let's swap defenders and get hammered.
Well, that's I think the trick is you gotta be proactive about it. You want to discuss those kind of things with your teammates before the match starts, instead of being pinned down for 20 seconds and then asking for help.
Yeah.
So as that offensive bot, you got to be ready to, obviously you got a place you want to score at, but if you're not being allowed to score there by a really good defense, you got to know where to score next to get out of there, or make sure you're communicating with that teammate of yours to help you get out of that jam.
Can we just talk about really quickly how defense ruins games?
Well,
like,
that's your
hang on.
Incorrect.
Let me finish my point. Okay? Let me dig my hole now. Right? Think about
Here's your shovel.
Think about the best like things that we like to watch, right? Even like FRC, we love to watch 1323, 1678 fill up rockets, right? We love to watch them score 120 points. People love it, and you know, teams spend an entire season. You guys spend an entire season just building these robots to play good offensive games, right? And then some rookie McRookie bot shows up and they're like, oh, all we have is a drivetrain. Now we're going to go hammer this team to play defense. And it slows down the game. It slows down the offense. It sucks for teams that are getting hammered by it, right? Like, I think in almost every competitive situation, like, insane amounts of defense just makes things really bad. And I think that's why district championships will be a little bit of a mess, because defense is going to be all over the place, and offensive robots will just become a mess.
That's where I think at district champs we're going to see an interesting balance, because we're going to see the deepest event we've seen so far. So the offensive robots are still going to be around for those third bots, and you're going to get some high quality ones. But you got to balance that with how good's their drivetrain, how good are they at playing defense for being able to pivot between those roles.
Sonny, was your favorite game Recycle Rush?
No, okay. So here's the thing, right?
All offense, baby.
I feel like you need
All offense, no defense.
some nuance in this tape.
Yes. Look, obviously you don't want zero defense, right? But this is a game with no safe zones at all, right?
Well, other than the hab zone and
Yeah, you can pick up your piece safely,
Yeah.
but
You can pick up your piece and then
score it
get
safely.
I think when it comes to those really hard targets, teams need a little bit of breathing room to get lined up, right? And I think we've seen that for like all the previous games so far, right? If you try to last season you had the safety zones. 2017 you had the like zone right in front of the boiler. What was that before that? 2016 you had the
defenses.
Yeah,
the courtyard.
You had the defense in the courtyard, and
Again, allowed to just the one defender in that zone
yeah,
as well.
yeah. So I think obviously you don't want no defense, but this is like a free for all. So I think first kind of missed the mark on allowing some sort of safety zone, right? That maybe if you're touching the rocket, you're safe.
Well, and I think this game in particular as well, for playing defense having such a big impact, this is one of like the smallest scoring targets we've seen for a while.
Yeah.
Just for how precise you need to be able to place that object, that any amount of defense can have a significant impact.
Yeah.
So then I do, if let's say in 2 weeks from now, maybe 3 weeks from now, Grits was happening, and they were like, we need to come up with rule change ideas. What would you do to fix this?
What I would
I liked your suggestion of maybe make it so that the rocket is protected if you're touching it. So that's kind of similar to 2013, the aerial or ultimate ascent pyramids. If you were touching the pyramid, you were safe.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think yes, that's like my like go-to thing, but I think it's kind of difficult for like every team to participate in that because you have to like put out like tongs and stuff to like touch the rocket, and you have a 30-inch like thing. So I can imagine you guys showing up with like big little whiskers. It's like, haha, we're touching it. So don't deny it. Okay.
Just wait till you see our robotic roots.
So I would actually do like just like a tiny safety zone in front of the rocket. Right, so just like line out maybe 12 inches outline around the rocket, and say if a team's bumpers are in that zone or whatever else, they can't be touched by defense. Right, now a defender takes on a little more risk, but that gives scoring teams a little bit more breathing room. That once you're in that zone, you can maneuver, take a little bit of time, and score. But then once you're out, you're going to get hit again. Right, so I would put some sort of security around the rocket, and then I think we'll see this game really take off.
So all I'll say with that is I think this game is a really nice experiment in terms of allowing for that extreme amount of defense. Because I'll disagree with you in this point. Obviously, we love offense, we love high-scoring games, but what's also interesting? Watching the Seattle Seahawks defense and seeing them terrorize one single little quarterback, little Kirk Cousins or someone else. That's amazing. So I think in this game,
you have a lot of problem with Kirk Cousins, don't you?
I have a lot of problems with Kirk Cousins. Okay, I have a lot of grudges. Okay,
He let you down in fantasy too much.
he did. He really did. But I think it's a really interesting experiment in terms of basically risk versus reward, basically, because with this game, you're having to figure out, okay, how do I basically take advantage of this field so that I can get the maximum amount of points. Now, obviously, you're having to deal with small lanes, and so now teams are having to become creative with not just defense but counter defense. Like pick and roll is one of the things that I've really wanted to see more of in first games because it's such a easy thing to do in terms of gameplay, but it's so effective if you do it correctly. So I think in terms of I would almost say lack of protection is now opening up new avenues for teams to get creative, especially being, let's say, it's basically almost a thing of the little toaster that could, right? If you think about it being,
the brave little toaster.
You mean brave little toaster tech?
Brave little toaster tech.
The little engine that could.
The little engine that could. But if you think about it, being a team, maybe they didn't build one of these amazing robots like 1414 or 2974, and they're coming to this competition, right? But these kids have seen gameplay, they've seen what happens, and if anything, if they can get their mind around something as simple as, I need to stop this person, and I'm going to get as creative as I can, and play a clean game, clean slate, to make it harder for them to basically dunk on us.
I think you're just advocating for defense because you know somebody's going to need to bring it if they want a chance against Walton.
Exactly. Okay, I'm advocating. Everyone, defend Walton. Okay,
if you want,
yes.
no easy points. None.
Everyone should watch some of the championships matches at 2014 because that was a game where your entire alliance could only use one game piece, right? So 4 robots were pretty much trying to play defense or counter defense at that time. So if you want to learn how to play effective defense, watch some of those 2014 Aerial Assist Championship matches.
Some sweet picks in those matches as well.
So on that note, by the way, Kyle, I disagree with everything you said, but we're gonna move on.
One quick note. We mentioned 50 through 32, and just doing my research, this is actually the first time in an official event. They did go to finals at Grits 2017, but this is the first time in an official event that 50 through 32 was made finals. So congratulations to them too. That's off.
Cool. All right. I do want to give a shout out to 3635.
Pivoting away from defense to offense.
I actually think they were kind of offensive focused for the entire time because
I was saying like pivoting from the topic.
Oh, right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so pivoting away from defense, we're talking about 3635, who I had almost no idea who they were. And then I saw that 4910 picked them. So 4910 was the 2nd seed at Columbus. And they picked 3635 over some other probably teams who you would expect them to pick. So pull up the match video. I had no idea who they were. I had no idea what they could do.
So I guess what's worth noting is that they did, so in 2017, they underwent a brand identity change, and that year they actually seeded 2nd at the district championship and went to Galileo. Then in 2018, they were a finalist at Columbus, and this year they've been finalists twice in a row.
Okay, well, so watch this match video. They're on the far right-hand side. And
the top left.
Top left, sorry.
They'll be doing cargo cycles, but just look at how quick they are about it and how they're driving, especially their drivers know how to drive that robot.
I mean, honestly, I think they are one of the best cargo bots working right now. And kind of the trade-off has been so far that if you're a good cargo bot, you suck at hatches. But 3635 fills up all the cargo, and then they take care of their hatch game. Right? They're probably not going to blow you away with hatches, but they don't need to.
Yeah, they have the capability of opening up a couple more cargo scores by playing on that first level of the rocket or at the end of the cargo ship. So they're increasing their ceiling by increasing those scoring opportunities.
Yeah, and you see right here, they're smart enough to realize, okay, 4910 has filled up the rocket with hatches for some reason, and they're just filling up that cargo on the bottom, right? And what was interesting is in some of the other matches when you watch them, teams would come over and they would play defense on 4910, and 3635 would be like, oh, that's perfectly fine. We're just going to clean up on this side.
You keep doing that. We'll be over here.
I do think they got this is probably their ideal role for them moving forward into states, because you get a situation where they can have someone else place the majority of the hatch panels. They're capable enough to place a couple, but they're going to completely fill that cargo ship.
Which also kind of makes me think, even with the role that they played, you look at how, with the design of their robot, how pretty simple it is, but very effective. So I'm wondering how fast they were able to really get that design down and built, and then 2, how much practice time they had, because they were able to just go and just dump those balls easily.
Do you think that 3635 is good enough to be a first pick at state champs?
Yes.
No question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I don't even think
they can solo the cargo ship, and they can fill level 1 of the rockets.
That was not as controversial as I thought it might be.
No, because we're talking about a game that you need consistency. They have shown themselves to be one of the most consistent robots out there. So, when it comes to district, it's going to be about consistency every match.
And there's enough good teams that will seed there that need a scorer like that, 832 isn't going to pick them. They overlap too much in skill, but 4910, they just proved that they can play with them.
Yeah, if you can get that combination of a strong hatch robot, strong cargo robot, and just make sure the skill sets, like
and 4910 won't be the only one, so you're going to get to a point where they're going to fit a lot of alliances. I picked them right now. I don't think they were picked in a wrong spot this event. It wasn't like there was a better team. They were the 4th team on the list, pretty clearly.
When I originally was looking, I guess I was announcing alliance selections, I was like, that's an interesting pick. But then when I go back and watch, when I was watching those matches, I just saw how quick 36-35 was, and like especially with 49-10 getting that defense, they just went ham. And I was like, all right, that was a very smart pick, and yeah, that was definitely the smartest pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely improved from their first event to really kind of get back. Like we talked about it was in terms of that killer instinct and they really like drove that robot. There wasn't fear there. Now there's still definitely some room for improvement, but I feel like they're going to be at their top game at District Championship.
Yeah. So on that note, let's go ahead and move on to the Forsyth event that's coming up. So as far as the event caliber goes, compared to Columbus, this is going to be a little bit lower caliber event. Less teams, less sort of top tier teams showing up. What do you guys expect when it comes to gameplay and things like that?
I think we're going to see some comparisons to an Albany event. I think there were only 3 level 3 climbers at Albany, all 3 of which seated in the top 4. So I think we're going to see something comparable to that with 1771 and 5109 coming out with some strong showings, because not only do they have the level 3 climb, but they're also pretty competent cargo scorers. So I think those 2 robots are going to do particularly well. Otherwise, I think the rest of the field, I think we're going to see a lot of focus on the cargo ship for getting them. That's where the majority of the points are going to come from for this event. We'll see if alliances come elims need to start playing on the rockets, but you're going to see a lot of points coming from those cargo ships.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of hopeful that this event is a little bit stronger than Albany, obviously, because it's like a later event. But you're also 1 week out from District Championships. I mean, not even 1 week. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you're loading it on Thursday again, right?
Right.
So you would hope that whoever shows up, they're going to be at their strongest at that event. Right?
Yeah.
Well, so remember, we can't, like, at this event last year was the first time there was 5 events, and the 2 teams that won that event paired up again and won the next event. I don't necessarily expect that with the caliber of robots that are going to this event, but there are going to be partnerships that are formed here that maybe see replicated at District Championship. You see strategies that are going to mimic those seen a lot, especially in qualifications at the next event. So this is a big preview. This is very, very similar gameplay.
Yeah, and I think the teams that are slated to be the top contenders are probably going to be in state championship form, or by the end of qualifications, they will be pretty much what they'll be looking like at state champion.
Yeah. So this might be oversimplifying the gameplay, and obviously it could turn out completely differently, right? But I think with only 2 level 3 climbers, you can kind of expect them to seed close to the top. And 1771 has a lot of experience with the cargo. So I personally, the way I see it playing out, is 1771 seeds first, right? 5109 is probably not
far off.
Not far off. And I think they need another well-rounded machine to really help them out, right? So from what I know about the field, I think it's either 1771 will pick up either 1746 or 6829.
I think you're going to see pretty stark similarity to the 2791-20, like a lower caliber one, but pretty similar to the 2791-20 alliance that won Tech Valley region. If 1771 seeds first, I think they're going to go for that kind of dynamic, where you have one hatch panel placer who does the majority, and then one cargo bot coming behind them and filling the spaces they place.
Yeah, I kind of wonder, so how does that dynamic flex under defense? Like, say, like,
so what 20 and 2791 did was when defense would come and would harass 2791, they would pretty much switch the plane. And 2791 would go to the other side of the field, 20 wowould occupy defender on the same side of the field, and that would give 2791 the space and time to place hatch panels. Now, they still need to do it quickly. You know, if 7046 or 6829 aren't able to connect quickly, or they drop hatch panels, then they're going to have a problem because they're just going to run out of spaces. But that if executed properly, there should be plenty of time. There should be plenty of opportunity.
Yeah.
This is my defensive rant. You know, teams, if you want to play defense, you're only going to be valuable if you play effective defense. And I've seen that done by, 2 or 3 teams over a small number of matches. You really have to not let teams have time and space. The most valuable thing you can do is make an offensive player drop a game piece. The only team that's been able to successfully and repeatedly do that is 1771. And like you've all been saying, they're probably going to seed first, so they're probably going to end up offensive. If you want to have a place at state championship and you don't think you're going to right now, figuring out how to play the most effective defense possible is your way there. At this point in the season, the ity is pretty minimal. This is how you get to that point.
Particularly, again, with the depth of this event, with a 30-team event, a number of alliances probably aren't going to have too many offensive options left for a third robot on their alliance. So they're going to be looking for those robots that have shown any form.
And that's what's going to cause upsets, ultimately. Yeah. Like, if the 3 seed ends up getting an excellent defender, that's how you're going to bring down the offensive capability of the number 1 alliance and match them or exceed them. That's the only way.
Scouting's always crucial, especially at these low team number events. But it's going to be especially crucial just with only 2 level 3 climbs or a handful of them, and like having a top tier that's kind of smaller than the rest are mid to low to mid tier. And so you got to be smart about who you choose for defense and offense if you want to have a chance at upsetting one of those alliances that has a level 3 climb.
Okay, so speaking about who to choose, I think it's about that time. Since it's only a 30-team event, maybe we'll stick to 1 team per person this time.
Please,
man,
please,
yes,
no.
Okay, so we'll stick to 1 team per person, and Anupam is going to go last. So we'll start on this side.
Dang it.
Ellen, who's the team to watch?
Let's see. I'm going to go with 1771. I'm curious.
Really?
Yeah. Well, so in the sense that I'm interested in seeing how they've improved. Because at their first event at Dalton, they were very competent cargo scorers. I didn't see them play with hatches too many times. They have a pretty consistent level 3 climber compared to the other teams in the district. So I'm curious if they've been able to open up that hatch game a little bit and see if they come in with a little bit stronger robot than they previously had.
Yeah. All right. That's cool. For me, I'm going to go with 1261. I'm going to try to choose one that's Homer pick.
Listen, we've done it before. It's okay.
Okay.
Precedent is set.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with 1261. A, I'm trying to pick somebody that's not completely obvious, but B, when they showed up at their first event, Albany, they had sort of like a cargo-focused claw robot thing. I don't think it was all that great at Albany, but I think they had the pieces there that if they got it working a little better, they could be kind of like a 36-35 style robot. So I think there's a lot of potential there. So if they get better, if they improve, I think they're going to be a team that could really make a bit of a resurgence there. At Forsyth.
They did pick up an autonomous word at their first event, so.
What are they doing autonomous?
I don't think anybody knows anything autonomous. So.
Yeah. I heard something about autonomous award just pretty much being for like the best robot. The award for the best robot there.
I think unless you have an autonomous, that's pretty much how things have gone so far this year. Unfortunately.
Sure. Okay.
So I think team that's going really far under the radar right now is 4112. They were
as you mentioned earlier, they're actually the second team at this event with a chance to pick up a second blue banner this year.
Right. So one of the things is they were not picked at Gainesville, but once they got swapped in for 6705 after that first match, they really showed their stuff. I mean, they contributed well to that alliance. It were huge in getting 1747 and 1619 out of quarterfinals and through the playoffs. So I think 4112 is going to have an offensive role here to play, and if they play the rest of the game smart, which they've done in the past, they've shown they can make finals and do well.
I've got a quick video of them doing like a hatch panel in Sandstorm here. This was back at Gainesville, so yeah. And this is Sandstorm period. Keep in mind. So it looks like their hatch panel mechanism is pretty decent at picking those up.
They actually remind me a lot of 4941. Like, not that 4941 has like a 4-bar or anything, but just a very simple claw out front and
comes up.
Yeah, and so I think maybe 4112 might just be missing a little bit more like programming and controls.
Yeah, but they've also had, we're talking about since they last played at Gainesville, they've had a lot of time to work on that. So I think they're flying, I think, the lowest under the radar for how good they are.
Yeah,
and especially drivers-wise, 4112 in the past couple of years, they've had really good drivers, like underrated drivers on that team.
All right, Kyle, who's your pick?
All right, so this team is one of the only teams in PCH to play 3 events, and that would be 1683.
I got a video of them real quick if you want me to pull that up.
Please.
So, didn't 1683 just build like a team capital, like from Robot in 3 days?
Basically. But so if you look, they pretty much in what was it, Gainesville. Gainesville made to quarters, fine. You know, they were captain, quick exit, that was fine. In that second event at Albany, they really showed themselves to be someone that could be effective with a cargo, which is really going to be really important. I think being at their third event, they have nothing really to worry about since they've already have their two events under their belt. They're already going to district championship.
Looks like they're already signed up for Houston as well. I don't know if they got a wild card spot or not.
Must have gotten a wait list, maybe?
Yeah,
Possibly.
that'd be the only way.
But basically, this event, third event, it's basically a home event for them. The location's pretty much really close to them. They're gonna ball out. They have already gone within quarters, now finals. Now, I think with effective strategy and the fact that we have pretty much a shortened field, I think they could easily make a trip to finals and win.
Yeah, 1683 to me has always been one of those robots that's kind of like scrappy. Like, I personally never...
They're scrappy gym rat.
Yeah, like...
Underdog.
Like
The ultimate district championship third pick.
They're Hunter Renfro from Clemson.
Whoa!
yeah, I mean, like I have personally never looked for them as like a team that's going to go out there and blow you away, but I feel like they're always around, like in like finalist appearances.
That's what you need.
Yeah,
that's what you need. You just need to be around and then just be there at the right exact moment. That was it for. Actually, well, that's a different situation with 4112, but you just have to be in the right place in the right situation, and I think 1683 fills that in the right way.
All right, makes sense. Anupam, let's go.
All right. Has anyone mentioned Ignite yet?
Nope.
6829?
No,
All right,
no.
they're my choice. I just was a big fan of their robot at Albany. It wasn't super quick at that time, but I'm thinking they'll make that a lot quicker and a lot faster. And I was just a fan of like how they automated hatch pickup and placement, and in the hands of the right driver, like having those motions kind of automated and good to go is going to speed up their cycle times.
Yeah, I mean, they are probably one of the few teams in our district that have confidence that they can automate like better, right?
Yeah.
So, you're right, they're not very fast yet, but if automation's the only shortfall for them, I'm very confident they'll be able to bridge that gap.
I'd also like to see, I think I saw at their first event, they had for their hatch mechanism, they'll go in and kind of pick it up.
Yeah.
For a loose hold on it, I'd like to see some active manipulation on that, because I think once they have it and get hit, they're prone to dropping it. So,
yes, but I feel like the loose hold is what's allowed a lot of teams to not line up so fine with the targets. So.
Yeah.
In some ways, I think you have to the way Walton's doing it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they grab it vertically, and that allows this horizontal rotation.
Yeah, they're retaining the in out, so it can't fall off.
Which I think 6029 is not doing right now. So this has seemed like something they could easily iterate on, and they're a team that we have seen iteration happen and improvement. So full faith they can do it, but it is something.
It seems like the best hatch panels mechanisms are the ones that kind of take into account you like having a little bit of play or being able to like push into the scoring position a little bit.
Yes.
It seems like the community and like the powerhouse teams have like really sort of circled around this wheeled hatch mechanism approach.
Yeah.
Right? Which I personally think is the best. Like Walton's got something that works and works for them, and that's great. But I think the wheeled hatch mechanism really like where it's at. So I wonder if some team at district championship maybe is going to show up with that.
You know, I was actually thinking 1102 would show up with something like that, just because like last year they completely redid their intake and everything, so I thought they would have tried to pull that trick out of the bag.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's 1102's biggest concern right now.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
I feel like you're just giving them ideas, though. So
I mean, take them.
Listen, it's okay. We're making the district more competitive.
There's video of them.
Right here, we are.
Exactly.
Like,
all right. Low key, nobody mentioned 1746, so that's okay.
Yeah,
no. We know that we know.
You don't need to mention them.
They're gonna win the event. It's all good. It's all good.
1746 wins at Gainesville.
Yes.
This is pretty close.
Forsyth is untested.
Gainesville was previously our home event just because it was the closest. This is now our closest event. So
Listen, Forsyth.
So
it's right
the
here.
idea is that
So-
the juju is shifted
You're
to
up there.
Denmark High School.
You're up there all the time. Speaking of Denmark High School, have you been in the venue? What do you expect from it?
It is a brand new high school as of this year.
It looks amazing.
So I have not been to it. I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there helping out, setting up on Friday. I believe they still need volunteers. I think an
Wink,
email
wink,
blast.
nod, nod.
They need.
Email blast just went out. So if you're interested in helping set up the venue, I think they're still looking for a number of volunteer positions,
Yes.
if I remember correctly.
I'm gonna read that off just as a
So
quick thing.
come on down and help out. Denmark High School
Yeah.
up in Alpharetta, Georgia. Not too far of a drive.
I
Yeah.
wasn't going up to Blacksburg this week.
So
It seems like you need to spend more time in Georgia, Trey.
Yeah, I
Maybe
feel like-
I do. I'll be at States. People can harass me there.
See, there you go. So basically, at Denmark, if you guys can, there's help needed for judges. You have to be 21 and up. They need robot inspectors. You have to be 21 and up. Security detail, 21 and up. They need help with queuers, and then as Kellen said, they need help with event setup on Friday and an event teardown on Sunday. Students can definitely help with the event setup and the event teardown, but we really need people for all 6 of those different positions.
Yeah. All right. And I think this is actually the first district qualifier that isn't that's actually being held at a high school.
Well, Riverside's high school. It's
Oh,
private.
yeah.
It's private though. Is Denmark public?
I think so.
Yeah, Denmark's public.
Yeah.
So this is the first public high school that's hosting.
That's where I think there'll be instead of the kind of dome setup you get at Riverside,
Yeah.
I think this venue will be hosted where there'll be 2 gyms that pits will be set up in one, field will be set up in the other.
Exactly.
So if you were around for Grits a few years ago, I think it would be a similar setup.
Well, hopefully it's not like some of the other high school events where you're in like classrooms, like in the hallways.
Yeah.
That's kind of a little bit
I think
too
it
little
depends
for
on
me.
which event. I know, I was at the Richmond event in Chesapeake this past week, and they had one kind of set up in the cafeteria and then half the pits in an aux gym. So it just depends on the lay of the high school.
Yeah.
This is the first time there, so benefit of the doubt first off, because every year, first time, you've got to get used to the venue. But also, this seems like an extremely promising step for Georgia First to be taking.
Yes.
So.
All right. So I think that comes to the end of the topics. But before we end, I'm just going to give a preview for next week. Next week,
Big show.
yeah, next week is a big show for district championships. So the show next week is going to be almost entirely focused on district championships. Winners from Forsyth will get announced and they get the little drive-by shout out. But we're going to try and spend as much as possible talking about district championships, the teams to watch, strategies to watch, driving tips. We're going to take a look at the venue and see what that's all about since we have a new venue this year. So all that's coming up next week. Next week.
Next week.
All right. Any closing thoughts, comments?
I'm dying on my hill. Dying on my hill.
I need to be able to pick more than one team next week, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I think Forsyth is going to be. If a team wants to win Forsyth and you don't have a level 3 climb, I think what I've been most disappointed by with Peachtree, and I'm really hoping it doesn't continue through the year, is there really hasn't been a lot of creative gameplay. And I want to see a team that, unless you have a level 3 climb in the back pocket that we don't know about, there's only a small handful of real contenders here. So you've got to get, if you're not in that contender but you want to win, get creative. Think of ways you can create point positive differential.
Or point negative differential for the other team.
Hashtag no defense.
No, hashtag all defense.
On that note,
Yeah.
all right,
What?
we'll see you guys next week.